What's going on, guys? Aaron from Top Tier Gaming here, and today I'm coming at you with actually a duel video which I haven't uploaded in quite a while. But yeah, this game was actually pretty insane. You're gonna want to stay till the end of this video because I think this is one of the best games I've had on ladder in a very long time. At the time, I was 783 rating and my opponent was 662 rating, which was pretty high when this was recorded, but that was like a week or 2 weeks ago. I was actually using this game as like some testing for some regionals, and I figured a duel video would be really good to upload right now because I still have a bunch of tournaments coming up, and I'm mostly playing Paleo Tier. I'm testing a few other decks, but nothing so in-depth that I can upload like other profiles right now. I'm just really testing Paleo Tier a lot, and a lot of people have been asking for gameplay, so I think this sort of covers that as well. So let's stop wasting time. Let's get into this duel. Of course, if you do enjoy this type of content, feel free to like and subscribe, and other Yu-Gi-Oh content as well. I upload a bunch of different types of videos, mostly deck profiles recently, but tier list, duels, whatever people want to see, I'm there for. So opening hands, I have Tearlament, Havness, Daruma, Karma Cannon, Grief, Needlebug Nest, and Dinomischus. And my opponent is on the Purrely Spright strategy, so he opened Happy Memory, Nimble Angler, Happy Memory, Ash Blossom, and Sleepy Memory. We did win the die roll, which is pretty good. I mean, playing a trap deck, you do like winning the die roll. All the regionals I go to, it seems to be the exact opposite. We do not win die rolls, but I wonder what GK means. Good luck is outdated. We're on GK now. We're Gravekeeper players. So I start with Grief. It's not like the best Grief in the world. I don't have a good send for like a Rhino Heart. It's probably just sending Tier Cash to mill 2, but I want to bait an Ash if he has it, and he does, so that's really nice. It means my Needlebug Nest has a much higher chance to resolve. And we're just going to set 3 and pass. Very simple turn. We have Havness for a mill. We can snowball this game pretty easily if the cards play out right. He's going to start off with a Happy Memory. Makes sense, he is in the draw phase. My opponent discards Nimble Angler, and then he summons Lily, and then he just starts resolving effects without saying anything, which was great because I have Havness in hand. So I have to ask in the chat how he is, pairing this chain link up, and he says chain link 1 Angler, chain link 2 Lily, which is great because it means we can declare Havness. And Havness is going to go ahead and mill 3, Daruma, Karma Cannon, Meta Noise, and Scream, which means we get to resolve a Scream here, which is great because we have a set Dinomischus. So now we're able to add Solyek off the Scream, and then my opponent is going to continue his plays. We're not going to Dinomischus anything random on the board, definitely much better things to Dinomischus. Like the My Friend Purrely, he's going to activate the effect, and I'm just going to Dinomischus that, discarding the Solyek, which means we get to add a Tearlament's Kashtira, which is just another way to keep the snowball going. As long as you're like rolling in Paleo Tier, you need to find a point where you're rolling into Engine. And that's like the whole objective of the deck, so Tier Cash for sure. We're going to be searching here. My opponent is going to make the E-Purrely Happiness, and then overlay the 2 Beavers into Gigantic Spright, I do remember. And then on summon, I'm going to activate Tier Cash. I don't want to get locked into 2s right now, even though I have a lot of level 2s. I'd like to use this Tier Cash and maybe a fusion effect. I'm going to banish the Solyek, summon Tier Cash, use the effect to mill 3. My opponent says Think. Deciding if they're going to use the Droplet, and they are. They're going to discard the Sleepy Memory to negate the Tier Cash. And I say Think Res because I, of course, have effects I want to do. And it's going to be the Needlebug Nest. My opponent is going to say the Needlebug Nest is good, and then I'm going to chain a Paleo, and my opponent is going to say no, wait. This is something you have to deal with on Dueling Book Ladder. It's a great time. The ladder is a wild place. I'm just going to let him go back and chain to the Paleo, even though I say you said Nest was good, and then, there's some chat going on. I'm like, that's pretty wild, but I'm going to say it's fine. I don't really care about the internet points that bad. If my opponent has a better play, I usually let them go for it, but it is weird to say yes to an activation. I chain a Paleo, and then you go back in time. It's pretty interesting. But I'm just going to chain Daruma, Karma Cannon, and then I'm still going to be able to chain my Dinomischus. And of course, my opponent has like no plays through the Karma Cannon at this point. So I'm going to be able to resolve the Needlebug Nest, and we're going to mill 5 cards off the top of our deck. We see Merly, we see Grief, we see another Paleo, we see Backjack. Pretty good mill. Of course, there's that one planet. Gotta love milling that card. For those unaware, I do only play one planet because it's a horrible mill. But we are going to have chain links here, and it's going to be chain link 1 Grief, chain link 2 Backjack, chain link 3 Merly. We're going to use the Merly and the face down Havness to make a Garura, which will help next turn get some more follow-up. Let's see our Backjack mill. I do accidentally mill 1 face up, which is great. So we see Shiren, Mothman, and Tear Cache. So there's no trap here to use Backjack's effect, but I mean, we could put Tear Cache on top and then mill it in mill 2, or we could just set up our draw for the next turn. Both work pretty nice. I think I'm just going to place the Tearlament's Kashtira on top so that I can draw it. And then I'm going to add the Solyak back to hand from Grief. My opponent's going to pass. And then I'm going to draw the Tear Cache, and from here it's just closing the game out. We're going to activate Tear Cache. Obviously my opponent has nothing. We're just going to roll into so much engine he's going to have to scoop. We knew we were going to mill the Shiren and the Mothman. I could have like linked off with this first to draw Shiren, but there's really no point for that. I'm going to go ahead and use the Shiren effect to fuse, make a Mud Dragon here. And then we're going to be able to link off the Garura and the Paleo. That's one good thing. Like, often when you have one Paleo, you obviously can't go for like a Link 2 or something. And by Link 2, obviously you can do that. You can't go for a Rank 2. You can't go for Opabinia or Totally Awesome. One thing you can do with one Paleo is simply go into Spright Sprint, because it just takes any level 2 monster or Link 2. And then I go Sprint 2, and my opponent's going to admit defeat. So yes, that was game 1. Pretty simple. Daruma Karma Cannon kind of sealed the deal, and we were able to roll into engine pretty easily there off of some decent mills. Nothing insane, but overall good enough mills to win the game. They could have been much better in this deck because almost all your cards are good mills, which I say all the time. But yeah, looking at our opening hand game 2, it's very strong. We have Rhino Heart, Morella, Shiren, Needlebug Nest, and Dynamiscus. If I see Morella and Needlebug Nest in my opening hand, it's great. Obviously, since we're going second, I would have loved to see a side deck go second card, or a Daruma Karma Cannon in a matchup if I was like playing against Snake Eye. Not seeing Karma Cannon is pretty bad. But even though this is a good hand, we're playing against Purrely, so it's really hard to play with trap cards into Noir, and I don't really have a great side deck for this deck either, so I knew this matchup was going to be rough going into it. They have My Friend Purrely, Pretty Memory, Spright Red, Sleepy Memory, and Magnuma. Overall, just like a great hand, I would say. I'm not a Purrely player, but besides like the Spright Red, everything looks like something you want to draw. And yeah, Magnuma, if you're going to draw a Bestial, that's the best one. So going a little fast through their turn because, you know, are we really here for Purrely gameplay? Of course we are. You know, any Purrely watchers, they want to see some good Purrely gameplay. They're going to... What just happened? They're going to... Oh, they're going to decide to discard the Spright Red instead of the My Friend Purrely. That's what happened there. So they're discarding for the Sleepy Memory the Spright Red. To get the Purrely effect, add Purrely. Activate the My Friend Purrely. Going to go ahead and search one of these 3 cards. It's going to end up being, I think, the Delicious. It's actually the Sleepy. Okay, that makes sense. Activate Purrely. They do hit, or just regular Purrely. They do hit a Pretty Memory there. Shuffle the rest back. Then they're going to use Purrely's effect to make Noir. Little Noir, of course. Sleepy Memory, chain the Noir so they can set trap from deck. And then they're going to, they're not going to discard to summon. They're going to discard the Magnuma for the Pretty Memory here. Interesting. My opponent also didn't chain the Noir to the Pretty Memory. They summoned first. But again, it's fine. I'd rather get the better testing than, you know, call my opponent out. Like, again, DB for me, I don't really care about the internet points. I'm just there for better testing for events and stuff. They're going to activate the Purrely, and they're going to find another hit, another Delicious. So they're getting some pretty good RNG. They're going to activate the Delicious, chain again, so they have a lot of materials. They're able to go for Noir Raw, which doesn't happen very often, but I have no hand trap, so of course they're going to be able to get there. They're going to activate the Lily, make a Beauty, and they're actually just making Beauty so that they can link off into Sprint, which I thought was interesting. I didn't really see this line thinking about Purrely Spright. It's not a deck I think about often, but they're going to dump the Angler, special 2 Beavers, and then they're able to make Gigantic Spright, which gets them into their Spright plays, which is obviously very good, much better than just having a Beauty. So they're going to go blue into Jet, into Starter. Starter can go ahead, or they're going to link first into IP Masquerena. They're going to make Starter to get Carrot, and I think that's where they pass their turn, is right here. Alright, so let's look at what we have to play going second into. And I did say this game was a banger because it looks over, but maybe it's not. My opponent has a face down Purrely, which is going to end up being something else later. They didn't really set this card up to do anything right now. But they have the Spright Sprint Bounce by detaching from Gigantic, which is 1 interrupt. They have the Carrot, which is a 2nd interrupt. They have the IP into SP, which is 3 and 4 interrupts because they can vanish on summon and they can tag out. And then they have 6 Send, so that's 7 interrupts. I only have 5 cards. And we have a bunch of traps that do nothing going second. But this game is bonkers. So we're going to go into our turn and we draw Mothman, a great card for pushing going second. I'm going to start, or they're going to draw, of course, I remind them to draw their card because they actually forgot. I just went main phase, but yeah, they're going to draw a card for the Noir, 2 cards actually, and they draw some follow-up, really good draws. They're not hand traps, but they're really solid draws. I'm going to start with Shiren, try to bait at Ash. I mean, the Rhino Heart isn't like the best thing to actually send, but I need to get some mills here, and I don't think summoning Rhino Heart is going to be the best thing to go for. I'm going to mill 3, and it hits Soliek and Vivid Tail. Overall, pretty solid mills. I do need the search to like get some advantage to play into this, and Vivid Tail may come up later. I'm going to go ahead and activate the Soliek, and my opponent is going to say that's good. I guess they had the option of Carrot there, but they decided against it. I'm going to add Tearlament's Kashtira. I'm going to activate the Tearlament's Kashtira. They're going to say that's good. I'm going to banish the Soliek, and I'm going to mill 3, to which they're going to chain the Sprin. They misclicked on the IP. They want to Sprin first, and then they want to chain IP to the Sprin, so they're going to detach to bounce the Tear Cache, and then link off into the SP. I'm going to mill 3 for the Tear Cache, and because they bounce the Tear Cache to hand, this milled Rhino Heart has Ascend, which is very strong. So on a new chain, I'm going to be able to activate Grief 1, Rhino 2. My opponent is going to SP the Rhino in Graveyard because they summoned it on the chain, so it kind of works out for them a little bit. And then Grief is going to add back Soliek. So now I have 6 cards, and they're running lower on interrupts, which is good for us. I'm going to activate the Mothman next, and I just raw Mothman. I don't want to set, like, even though I'm risking discarding Needlebug Nest, I think I lose unless I go for a high opportunity Mothman to, like, summon. And also, I can't really set a card and then Mothman because they know that card's high impact and they'll spin it with the Noir. So I was in a tough position here, but I just went for a lucky Mothman, and it hits the Tear Cache. Probably the best thing to hit there, I'm not going to lie. Because we've already used the Soliek. So hitting Tear Cache was a very lucky hit, and we needed some fortune here for sure. Mothman, draw Dino-Miscus, and then Tear Cache effect is able to mill here, and I'm going to mill a Scream, which is another good hit. So these mills have been, I would say, decent. Like, we milled 2 bad mills, which is unfortunate, but we got a Paleo Engrave, and some overall solid mills. My opponent is going to SP effect to the Scream, try to hit the Shiren, but then the Vivid Tail finally comes up. I'm going to bounce the Shiren to my hand with Vivid Tail in response, which is huge. I love Vivid Tail for cool things like this. Of course, it's just a good follow-up card that gets you free traps, but there's a lot of interesting plays that come up. It's a very, like, versatile card in that respect. And then we're going to search for the Scream. We're going to add Meta Noise. So we're ending our turn with, like, 2 cards on field and 7 cards in hand? That's wild. You know, we started with 6, so it's good that we got here through several interrupts. And then I'm going to go battle phase. My opponent lets me beat over his SP. He doesn't want to use any of his Noir sends because he knows I'm about to set a bunch of trap cards. And he doesn't want me to have those, so he, of course, is going to wait till the end phase to send back some traps. I'm going to overlay for Typhon here because obviously he did a bunch of summoning. I'm going to use the effect of Typhon to bounce the Sprind. Just get that off board so he can't link with it or exceeds with it into another Gigantic. Get some follow-up he has off the board. And I'm going to set every card that is a trap that is not Meta Noise. And essentially my objective with all of this is to save either, like, any one of these cards that survives is fine. I think Needlebug Nest might be the best one. But as long as any of these survive, it's fine. I know he's not going to send back the Vivid Tail, so he's going to bounce 3 at end phase. And he's going to send back, he's asking to read the Vivid Tail. He's going to send back the Needlebug Nest. I think the Morella was next. No, that's another Dino-Miscus, and then he's going to send back the Morella, leaving me with just Dino-Miscus. But, you know, the only traps he knew were Meta Noise and Soliek, so he probably thinks one of those is set or gone now. But of course, we have those in hand for free, and we have a Dino-Miscus, which is very strong. Our opponent's going to draw Double Cross, definitely one of the better go first cards in the Sprite engine. He's going to activate my friend Purrely. I think that's a good a time as any to activate my Dino-Miscus, and probably discard the Meta Noise here. I'm going to chain a Paleo, definitely want to do that, want to get as many cards in rotation for the next turn as I can. And I do discard the Meta Noise to add back the Tearlament's Kashtira, which, you know, he doesn't have any sendbacks currently. Then I'm going to activate the Tear Cache. I need to get something rolling. I need a decent mill. I need something I can do here. And I mill Transaction Rollback Rise to Full Height. Both really solid there. There's that one planet. There it is. You know, that planet's always there. From here, I'm just going to activate the Rise to Full Height. My opponent's going to say that's good. And then after that resolves, I'm going to activate the Vivid Tail, targeting my Rise to Full Height, or targeting my Tear Cache. This is the full combo with Vivid Tail. This is the Tenpai destroying combo. I'm going to chain a Paleozoic to that. And here I have 2 Paleozoics on field. I think we'll have enough follow-up that no matter what my opponent does, we're going to be solid. However, my opponent has one of the only ways to deal with a Paleozoic it's the talents, and him getting a level 2 is crazy because Sprite Carrot contributed for my rollback, which means I can't activate my rollback now, and he can like exceed with it, he can link with it, it works with his engine. Actually, like the worst case scenario for me. My opponent's going to summon Purrely here, activate the effect, and he's going to search a My Friend Purrely, activate the My Friend Purrely just to get that in rotation again. He's going to make the Plump, and he's going to take 2, of course 1 being my transaction rollback, one of my most powerful cards. I can't chain it because he's got Sprite Carrot that contribute my Dino-Miscus. And my opponent's going to go into the battle phase next, try to swing at the Typhon. Obviously he can't, he can only attack Tearlament's Kashtira, which, you know, he's questioning Rise to Full Height. Everyone does. It's not a... I figure most people by now would know what it does, but some people still don't really get Rise to Full Height. And he's going to use the Pretty Memory to attach my Typhon, fair enough. And he's going to end with just a billion material Plump. I mean, it's got 5 materials right now, including 2 of my cards, which is fantastic. He's going to overlay into a Mannequin Cat with my Paleo. Very unfortunate. That is very unfortunate. Worst case scenario again. But now he's got 2 more draws off of Plump. Or no, he's going to attach first. And then he has 2 more draws off of the Plump, and then he has 2 more draws off of the Yeep, which is going to draw a Hand Trap. He's going to draw an Ash Blossom, so at this point, it looks hopeless. My opponent has Ash on the crackback, and he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sends. Now, 4 sends, 8 detaches. Now, one of those contains my rollback, which is going to make him a little wary to use one of them. But I'm staring down another, essentially 4 Send Noir after a 3 Send Noir, and he drew an Ash, so I'm going to use that Shiren. I'm going to attempt to use this effect, and it's going to get Ashed, obviously one of the higher impact Ash Blossoms against the deck, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be rough. I'm going to normal summon the Rhino Heart, he's going to say that's good, no real way to interact with it. I'm going to send the Havness. Obviously that's going to get sent back, so goodbye Havness. It goes to the bottom. I actually shuffled. Been a while since I played against Noir, but we get that fixed, and we put it on bottom. I'm going to banish for Tear Cash. He says that's good. Banish mill 3. We hit 2 Morella and a Scream. Okay, the Scream's okay. Getting more Paleos in grave at this point, not that amazing. I'm going to attempt to go battle phase. My opponent says that's good. I'm going to beat over the Mannequin Cat. He says that's fine. Again, he's probably saving these for traps or real plays I might do. I'm going to link off that 1 Paleo and a Tear Cash into the Sprin. This is the second time I've done that actually. And we're going to send Merly. I'm going to attempt to use the Merly effect, and my opponent is going to bounce that back, so we've baited 2 bounces with some Tearlament effects, and I'm just going to simply set 2 cards and put him on a interesting decision where he can detach both to bounce both back row, but gives me a rollback, or he can only bounce 1 and I keep a Solyek, and they're both Solyek, which is very good for me, which means that Scream Mill was pretty good. He's going to bounce back a Solyek, and he's thinking on the detach. He's going to send the Purrely, which turns the effect from being a quick effect off. This Noir is no longer a quick effect, but he keeps my rollback, and he has the Pretty Memory to attach. So I can see what he did there. It makes sense. I don't know if this was a misplay. Like, there's an option to detach the Pretty Memory and keep the Lily under there, but he never wants to give me rollback, which I guess I understand, but there was a lot of thinking to be done there, I guess. Alright, continuing on to my turn after shuffling the Solyek, or it goes to bottom, so I'm going to put my Merly, Havness, and Solyek on bottom. I'm pretty sure the Havness, I did shuffle, yeah, I shuffled with Scream, so Havness actually shouldn't be on the bottom, but I didn't want to go back and change the deck again. It should be fine, because I know my deck will be randomized here. Unless it could alter if he drew something to stop me, but he's going to attempt to activate the Noir to send a card he controls and take my Solyek. I'm going to chain the Solyek, sending the Rhino Heart to negate his Noir, which, you know, it's a permanent negate, but the main thing here is that we're able to send the Rhino Heart. And it looks like I didn't chain a Paleo, which is definitely a mistake on my part. I guess I just got antsy, forgot to chain a Paleo. I should have chained a Paleo there for sure, though. I think I just really wanted this Rhino Heart effect and kind of just zoomed past my thought process. Finally, we're able to use this Shiren. It's been stuck in the hand. This Shiren has gone from the field to from the hand to the field, back to the hand, tried to use this effect, got ashed, and now finally it's being able to be used as a Rhino Heart discard. Now I'm able to go Rhino 1, Shiren 2, Shiren take back the Mothman to make a Mud Dragon, which is some solid protection here. And then I'm going to send the Tear Cash to get another Mill 2. My opponent is going to chain the Yeep because he's running out of engine entirely. Like, he's almost out of all his cats, and he put 1 back. He's out of a lot of extra deck monsters. We have been grinding for sure. And I'm going to mill Havness off of my tier cache, which is quite good, I believe. Or no, it's okay. It's not that great because I don't have anything extra to make. I have to send the Mud Dragon back to make the Dragostapelia just to have an interrupt. And then I told him the deck's been shuffled. He thought Havness was still at the bottom, but obviously we resolved Rhino Heart to send tier cache. And then we're going to send the Mud Dragon back to make Dragostapelia. And our opponent just doesn't have that much gas. Like, he has these pretty memories and these memories in hand, but he doesn't have beavers for Angler. He didn't shuffle back that one cat. He changed it for the Noir. So I don't even know if he has a cat in deck, which would have been an interesting choice. He might have one cat in deck. He's going to... Yes, he has at least one cat in deck. Discard the Angler, special the Lily, and he does have one beaver left in deck, but nothing too crazy. I'm going to Dragostapelia the Lily, stop him from adding potential field spell. I didn't know if he was on it or not. Did I know he was on my friend? No, I might have stopped him from getting my friend too, but yeah, he's going to resolve, I guess there were no targets for my friend. There weren't enough in deck. He should have gained 500 there. I don't remember seeing that, but yeah, he's going to take the Anima and the Beaver. Yeah, okay, so he turned Purrely into Anima, and he's going to take the Anima and the Beaver into Dark, and he's going to Dark Charmer my Typhon, so fair enough. He's then going to go Battle Phase, swing over the Dragostapelia, which is unfortunate. Then he's going to swing over the Sprint, leaving me with just Rhino Heart and a Solyek. Pretty precarious situation here. And then he's going to overlay Zeus on top of his Noir. Again, it has my rollback. I want this card. Just give me my rollback. Like, that card would be so good. I'm going to draw Shiren, which this deck has been shuffled. I just happened to draw some Tearlaments. If you remember how this game started, it's crazy that we're at this point. I've played through like 10 interrupts at this point. So showing the power of the Tearlaments engine, like even if you're drawing nothing but trap cards, the Tearlaments engine goes crazy, right? And the trap cards were very good too. So Shiren's a crazy draw here because I'm going to normal summon Shiren. And what is my opponent going to do? Is he going to Zeus here, wiping his whole board, giving me Solyek effect and Shiren effect? Definitely not. So I'm just going to activate the Solyek, targeting the Zeus, sending the Shiren. So his Zeus is offline, and I get Shiren effect, which is really good. I'm able to send the Dragostapelia back. I'm able to, and the Shiren to make the Mud Dragon we put back to make the Dragostapelia. And from here, we're in a great spot. I'm going to go into the battle phase, swing the Zeus, take a measly 400 damage. I'm going to detach for the Toad because you can't attack for the rest of the turn. Yeah. And then I'm going to overlay my Zeus on top of my Bahamut Shark, activate the effect. He goes to say Typhon is there, but if you read Typhon, it says while this Xyz summon monsters on the field, it was brought back by Dark. It is no longer Xyz summoned, so we're going to send for the Zeus. He says think, but there's nothing he can activate. And this Zeus does so much for us. We get the Solyek effect that we sent right here. We get the totally awesome effect we summoned to add back the tier cache. We get our rollback back. That's weird to say. So we go infinitely plus off the Zeus having tier cache and Havness. And rollback, and we're able to keep going. Our opponent has nothing in deck, nothing in hand. Mill 3, our Mill 3 is absolutely insane there because our deck is, at this point, nothing but good mills. It doesn't even really matter what our back jack is at this point. Our opponent just has nothing. They're going to go ahead and admit defeat. That was a long game, but I think it's a really banger of a game. Like, that game 2 is crazy. I won't say all. A lot of people were asking for gameplay of Paleo Tier, and I'm just going to have this video up as a way where I can redirect people for gameplay. I think this is very close to my recent regional topping list, and I think a lot of people want to see how I actually play the deck because it's a very interesting deck to play. So hopefully this helps, and I hope it was enjoyable. Definitely a fun game to look over, even though I'm kind of out of breath. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. Let me know what you thought of the game. See any obvious misplays. If you're familiar with Purrely and maybe even Purrely Spright, you can leave down below what my opponent could have done better because obviously I almost feel like it's a game they should have won because they just had so much. But with all that being said, hope you enjoyed. This has been Aaron from Top Tier Gaming. Bye, YouTube.